What you guys got another video, Windows 11 bloatware, what you need to know for 2026. Is your Windows 11 PC feeling sluggish? You're not alone. Millions are calling Windows 11 bloatware, but is it truly a resource hog? In my opinion, it is. It's full of bloat, i.e. adverts, unnecessary programs installed, pre-installed on the system, and we've also got a ton of settings you have to go through to make it usable. A lot of people just don't want to go through all of this. We've got other things like recall, Copilot, AI is embedded all over the system, loads of settings that you have to go in and turn off and disable, and there's lots of other reasons like regular updates that break the system. We're running Windows 11 25H2 here, and lots of people do want to debloat their system to make it usable, because Windows 11, believe it or not, is still the best operating system that Microsoft have released when it comes to security. But for all the other reasons, it just is one of the most hated. Now, there's quite a few ways to debloat the system, and Flyby 11 is one of them. Now, normally you would use this when you're upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11, or you're using it to remove a lot of the settings during the setup phase. But we're at the desktop, so can you still use this tool to debloat Windows? And the answer to that is yes, you can. Now, there's quite a few other scripts out there or apps that you can use to do exactly just that, what we're talking about. But today we're going to take a look at these two items here and see if we can get this system clean in 2026. I'm going to take you through all of the steps that you might need to do if you want to use this method. Now, there's quite a few options available out there, but we're concentrating on these two items today. So we're going to download these both items here on the system. Now, it's important before you start even contemplating debloating your system to make it usable, it's important that you make regular backups of your data and create restore points on your system, because your information I'm providing today in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Any actions that you take based on this video are strictly at your own risk and decision. I'm not responsible for any losses of your data. Make sure you back up your data and create restore points. Always do your own research and understand that changes will be made to the PC which could make the system unstable. So with that said and done, let's move on with actually getting this system to the way that I think it should be released to the general public. So we're going to extract these two applications here. Now, everyone is talking about Windows 11 and basically no one likes it, and it's not being upgraded to by a lot of people. A lot of people are staying on Windows 10, and some people have even transitioned over to Linux. So let's go ahead and open this up and run this as administrator, and it will look something like this. Now, this is a very powerful tool. It allows you to do lots of different things on the system. We're going to be concentrating on the out-of-box experience, or OOBE section here. And normally you would use this during the upgrade process of your system, but we're going to be doing it at the desktop. So we're going to be using it for something totally different today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the personalization section. This is obviously self-explanatory. I want the PC looking in dark mode. The app I'm going to leave in light mode because obviously it makes it easier to see. I'm going to line everything to the left rather than in the center, and we can add on some applications here. You can change the wallpaper background here if you want to and change the accent colors. I'm just going to add these icons to the desktop here because I think this is something that people have been doing for many years. So let's go ahead and add all of these to our desktop control panel, and you can do user files if you want to. Apply this and OK, and we're going to apply the theme. So let's go ahead and do that. And it all just goes over like that. And now we've got everything in dark mode. So let's move on to the next section, which is the browser. Now, whether you like Microsoft Edge or not is entirely up to you. I personally don't like it, and I would like the option to uninstall it on my system. If you need a new browser, you can use the I need a browser other than Edge and download it via this method here. If you don't trust this method, you can always go on the internet and just download it directly from Google or one of the other browser websites and download and install it on your system if that's what you prefer. But these application installation methods are very, very useful. They use winget and plate, things like that, which makes installing applications super quick and easy onto the system. So I'm going to choose Chrome here, but you can choose whatever browser you like if you're going to be installing a browser and uninstalling Microsoft Edge later on down the line. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on in this video. So let's go ahead and move on to this next section here and say don't sign in. Now you can set this up as your default browser as well, but I'm going to be removing Edge on this PC. Next, we're going to go into the AI section and click check. You can see Copilot right here, and we can see Copilot is embedded in Edge and all of the other places in Windows. So I'm going to go ahead and check mark all of these, because if I want to use AI, I will go to the internet and use one of the AI websites to use it there. I don't need all of this embedded in my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all of this stuff off, especially Recall and other components like Copilot, because I don't need them. Once you're done, turn off the selected items. Here, this is for the out-of-box experience, so we don't need to worry about this so much on the network side of things. This is for when you're upgrading. Same for the account. We're already on a local account, so I don't need to worry about that. So let's go ahead and look at the app section right here. This is one of the big concerns for a lot of people, that apps get pre-installed onto the operating system, and there's tons of them. And most people don't want them on there, so they have to go through the painstaking job of uninstalling them. So this just makes it easier. Now you can choose which selection you want. You've either got the only essentials, zero bloat, and this will remove pretty much all of it, or you've got some other options available there, which is a recommended section. Just be careful on what you're removing here, like there's paint inside here and there's other items. The recommended section is a bit more lighter, but if you do want to keep some of this stuff, read through it and just check mark the stuff that you don't want. Everything included is pretty much the full Microsoft experience. This will remove everything from there, and there might be an item in there that you need. So just read through and just make sure you understand what you're doing here before you remove stuff. So I'm going to check mark the only essentials, zero bloat here, but you can choose whatever you like when you're removing applications from your system. It is going to remove Microsoft Paint here, so bear that in mind. And Microsoft, your phone is going to be removed. If you need those items, then don't remove them. Microsoft Windows Camera is going to be removed as well. So just bear that in mind. So let's click the remove selected apps, and this will go through and uninstall all of these from the PC. So now sometimes this can be a little bit more difficult to understand, and that's where Geek Uninstaller makes things a little bit easier for people that are not familiar with certain things. And I'll show you that a little bit later on. Next, we're going to go on to the experience part here. And again, use quick settings recommended. And this will allow you to select all of this stuff. So you can toggle all of these on. And these are going to disable a lot of settings, like for your ads. All of the ads section here, we can turn all of this stuff off. And you can see there's a lot of them there. That's because Microsoft love to pump ads onto you, and this is where they make revenue while you're on your computer from pumping ads onto your system. Now, where people go wrong is they just follow what I do on my video, and of course then they end up uninstalling or disabling something they need. Take your time and read all the information here. If you need gamer mode or any of these options, then don't disable them. Otherwise, you're going to end up removing them from your computer. It's that simple. Just take the time and read through. Don't just follow someone's video, because one size does not fit all. You can go through the list here and check some of these other options out, like Microsoft Edge, and you can toggle these all on if you don't want all of this bloat inside Edge and you plan on keeping Edge. I would advise you to debloat it and remove all of the stuff that comes with it. And you can do that by check marking all of this stuff and applying that. This is like basically don't submit user feedback option and other things that you might not want to do in Edge. You got the UI option here. And again, a lot of this stuff is, questionable, like hide the search box on your taskbar. You might not want to hide it. So uncheck it and leave it if you don't want to hide it. You might use the Snap Assist flyout. I don't use it on my system, but if you do, then uncheck it. It's that simple. Just read through and basically leave the ones that you don't need. And then you can apply these settings to your computer. Everyone's going to have different preferences what they use on their PC. And this is why it's important to take your time and read through all of the options. And if you follow that simple bit of advice, you're not going to end up, bricking your system. So in the gaming section, you've got disable power throttling and you've got disable visual effects. If you like all your visual effects left alone, then don't use them. It's that simple. Moving on to privacy, I'm definitely going to turn all of this off because this is to do with telemetry and data collecting. Next, the add section, we've already covered this. So I'm just going through here on the system settings. These are like system tweaks like disable hibernation, enable end task, and you've got also speed up your system menu delay and things like that. So you can read through here and basically check mark the ones you want. I can hear the Linux fanboys right now saying, what a palaver. In Linux, you don't have to do any of this stuff. And that's true. And they've got the right to moan about Windows 11 because it is an absolute nightmare. So Linux is doing some things right. Now, this is the installer part right here. This is where you can choose to install some apps. We're going to skip that part. Updates, you can check your updates. And there's a section here which allows you to create system restore points and also allows you to run Chris Titus Text tool, which is another great tool that Chris has spent a long time creating to make things simpler and automated for people that don't understand how much bloat is inside Windows. But this tool is pretty decent at doing a lot of that stuff as well. And I like to show many different options available out there to give people the option to choose which one they like best. And if you're interested on what I use on my system, I tend to use Group Policy Editor and I use my own group policy files, which are on my Discord server. And I also use my batch file, which I will run, which will change a lot of the settings for privacy and things like that. Here we're going to uninstall OneDrive from here because I don't want OneDrive. So I'm going to go ahead and uninstall it. Again, if you use OneDrive, then leave it alone. Don't uninstall it. So we're going to go through here and take a look at what else we can do on the system here. Now, I'll be coming back to Chris Titus Text tool a little bit later on because there's a couple of options in here that I like to use, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. But it is a very powerful tool and it's quite useful. Here you can give the guy a bit of a kickback by giving him a tip. If you want to, by clicking yes, it will take you to a page and you can donate to all the hard work that he's doing. Next, we got the Geek tool here. We're going to extract this. This is Geek Uninstaller. Now, the reason why I like this tool is because it visibly shows you applications that you can actually read and see, and it makes it easier for people to understand what they're uninstalling. When you first open it, it's going to look something like this. And there's not a lot here because we've already debloated the system. Just going to quickly turn off these widgets and put this search icon to icon only because that's how I like my setup on my system. So now I've done that, let's go back to the tool here. Here we can quickly select which ones we want to uninstall from this section here, but you can also go over to this option where it says view, and it will view Microsoft Store apps. This is where you can uninstall a lot of Microsoft Store apps. Now, I've already selected what I selected on that script. If I went for everything, there will be hardly anything here. But this option will give you a bit more visual idea of what you're uninstalling. For instance, if I wanted to uninstall any of this stuff, all you need to do is just right click on it and click uninstall. And there's even a force uninstall on here, which will force uninstall the item. Let's just see Bing here, Microsoft Bing. Right click, uninstall, and you will see a box popping up and it will scan for leftovers. You can say remove those as well and click close. Now you can choose what other options you want. Now Microsoft Edge, you can do it on here. You can force uninstall, but I'll show you that a little bit later on. But I'll quickly show you here when you uninstall just by using the standard uninstall, it can be a bit stubborn and it doesn't want to uninstall properly. But going through, there's a couple of little extra bits on here like Power Automate. I can uninstall this one. I don't want it. And I'm going to remove all of these right here, like so. And that's now gone. Quick Assist, I don't need that on the system. But if you use Quick Assist, then obviously leave it alone. And there's some other bits and pieces on here like widgets and things like that that you might want to look at as well. Now down the bottom, there's going to be some Xbox stuff. And if you don't use Xbox on your PC, then you can uninstall a lot of the Xbox stuff. But if you do use Xbox or you play Microsoft games like Forza or something like that, then you might want to leave some of those components on the system because you're going to end up causing yourself problems. But this system's not going to be using Xbox on here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove them from the PC. Same thing for the Microsoft Store. If you don't use the Microsoft Store, you can happily just uninstall it. But if you do use it, then I would leave it alone. Now, some of these applications you have to uninstall this way because Windows doesn't give you the option to uninstall them. So just bear that in mind when you are removing these from the computer. So let's go ahead and take a look at the list here. You can go through here with a fine-tooth comb in your own time. But I don't want to spend too much time here because obviously the video is getting quite long as it is. Now you can already see the system is starting to look a little bit more cleaner and the way I like it. So there's a few more little things that we can do here. Right clicking on the start menu and going in and customizing the start menu here. This can all be done in this panel right here. You can toggle off what you don't need and basically get it the way you like it. Show the recommended. We definitely don't want that on the bottom. And again, Microsoft have just released a new start menu, which will be pushed out to users. And it is huge, the start menu. What I'd advise you to do when they do that is basically use Start 11 or something like that, which is a paid bit of software, but it is worth using rather than using that monstrosity that Microsoft have released. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section. So now we're looking pretty tidy here. There is a LinkedIn little icon here, which I need to just quickly remove. That seems to have slipped through the net. There we go. And we're looking pretty tidy. That's how it should look when it comes from a first install. Now, don't worry about Microsoft Edge. I'll show you quickly how we can uninstall that in a second. I'm going to go through here and just quickly go back and have a little look at some of these settings because there's a few little settings I like to do here. Inside here, I like to change this privacy option, uncheck this, clear all these, and I like to change this to this PC. Then on the view section, I like to remove this and make sure I've got show hidden files, folders and drives as well inside this option here. But let's go ahead and move on with the last final little bit here to tidy this up a little bit more. Now you can remove this gallery if you want to, and the home if you really want to from your settings. You can do that with Chris Titus text tool as well, and I'll quickly show you that in a sec. Now for all those people that think this is going to give you massive FPS boost, it's not going to do any of that stuff like a lot of people claim. It's just basically debloating the system and removing a lot of the filler that Microsoft put in and turning off all of the stuff you don't need. You'll see inside here all of these settings have now been changed. We're still on a local account here. And all of this stuff has now been changed via the application. So what we need to do here now is just quickly go through and check a couple of last little settings here. Focus is already sorted here. I've got this on Do Not Disturb. And again, notifications, depending on how you like your setup. If it's something that you don't want to be disturbed on, you can make sure Do Not Disturb is turned on the notifications here. And that way you won't get disturbed. Some people like to be notified on some applications. It's entirely up to you. There's a couple of little extra options here, like this multitasking snap windows. I don't want this at all. I find it annoying, but some people use it, and if they do, then leave it alone. And there's a couple of little extra areas here, like this one here for storage sense. I'd normally turn this off. I don't want this running constantly in the background, deciding when it wants to clean my system when I'm playing games or when I'm doing something on my PC. I don't want it running at all. Clipboard, again, if you don't want clipboard saving and storing all your information every time you take a snippet, then by all means get rid of those applications. You can uninstall the snipping tool and install another application. Again, the argument is they will then be able to see what you're snipping. So it's really difficult to get away from some sort of data harvesting from everyone. You're just not possible. So it's looking pretty tidy now. I can see remote desktop. I don't need this. So I'm going to quickly reboot the system, get rid of this, and we're pretty much done. I just want to do one more thing, and that's sort out Edge and a couple of other privacy settings, and we should be up and running. And again, you know it's going to happen. There's going to be a few Linux fanboys there that are going to say, wow, what you have to do to get to a usable system. And I completely agree. It's so frustrating. You shouldn't have to jump through all of these hoops to use an operating system. Microsoft should be offering a light version of Windows 11 which doesn't have all of this installed from the get-go, and that way you can just have a version. What I think would be great is a gaming version of Windows, a studio version, and also a fully loaded version like what you see here, and see who wants to use what. Guarantee you a lot of people won't be using the fully loaded version. I can guarantee that. So let's take a look at Windows updates. Now, I know some people disable Windows updates. You really shouldn't. What you should be doing is configuring it to a manual installation. And anytime Microsoft released a feature update, you can then decide when you want to roll that update out on your system. There's a couple of little settings inside here that you definitely want to turn off. This is one of them right here. Delivery optimization. It's going to use downloads that have been on other systems through the network or outside your network and use those. And it will basically use your bandwidth up. You don't want to do that. Now, configuring your update policies, you can do that in group policy, or you can use Chris Titus Text tool or other tools out there as well to actually do it, or do it yourself manually inside Windows and setting it to manual rather than automatically update. So let's go ahead and go back to that application and download Chris Titus Text app from here. You can get it from his website as well, which is probably more advisable, and using his code, and then you can basically download the app. It will look something like this. I'm not going to go through all of it because we've already debloated the system here. So what I'm going to do is take care of Microsoft Edge. Now, there is other applications that do this as well, which I've used in the past. And I want to disable Edge, and I want to make Edge uninstallable via settings. And I also want to use the services set to manual. You can do that here as well. And once you've set this up the way you like, you can then basically run the tweaks on the system. Now, there's no point running all of these tweaks because we've already done them. That was another question I see coming up in the comments section. Can I run multiple applications to disable stuff? There's no point because you've already disabled a lot of that stuff. This is when you can end up breaking your system. You just don't need to keep running multiple apps. Now, this tool right here is quite useful because you can see there's quite a few settings that have been left behind. And these are basically telemetry. And I want to go into actions and use the amber section here. Click continue, click OK. Just make sure that you check through here because there is a microphone one that I want to make sure that's off so I can use the microphone. But all the other settings are set right here, and that's what I want. So I've left the smart screen. Another one I've seen that people like to disable is smart screen. Smart screen's there to protect you, so don't be disabling that sort of stuff. We do need to restart the PC one more time. But again, I'm just going to leave that right here. And that's basically how you can debloat your Windows operating system, take your control back and optimize the system using these methods. It's very simple and easy to do. There's quite a load of other ways. I've covered videos on this in the past. There's many ways to do this, but basically that's what you're going to have to do if you want to use Windows 11, in my honest opinion, because there's tons of stuff inside here that you're not going to need. And just leaving it on the system just really does use a lot of system resources. Now, it's not so bad on a brand new computer, granted, but on older systems, it is quite of a resource hog. So I would just basically uninstall what you don't need, just as you would do with your PC on as regular maintenance. I would go through and disable a lot of the settings that you don't need. There's no point leaving them on if you're not using them. That way they're not using resources, and just get it set up to the way you like. You just have to do a lot more setting up with Windows 11 than what you used to have to do with a lot of other operating systems in the past. And you can thank probably AI for that. Anyway, I hope this video has been some sort of use to you. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Big shout out to my YouTube members. Appreciate the support. Catch you in the next one. Bye for now.